I got to get a whole table of Josh's, just a round table of Josh's to talk. There's so many in the hobby. And for those of you that have watched the show for a while, I was the only Josh in school. I was the only Josh I knew. And now I know like 30 Joshes. Some of them suck, but some of them are cool. I don't think I know Josh Suds, unless it's somebody that changed their name. I see some new faces. Welcome. So if you don't know what we do here, if you're new here, we do conversations. Today we're going to talk with my actual good friend, I think, Kevin Nasser. We get along. We both have horrible senses of humor, so that's how we get along. We're going to try to rein that in a little bit. That's why we're late. We were telling awful jokes. But I do understand we have some people's like 9-year-old daughters that watch the show and are subscribers. Speaking of subscribers, guys, we're up like 10% this month. The numbers jumped like 10 whole percent, which is, for my tiny little channel, it's not a whole lot, but it's huge to me. So for those of you that are putting it out there, thank you. Aaron Roth, that looks like a new name, unless I have a bad memory. I remember like Don, Jedi Monkey, and Beetle Guy. That's usually it. And who's the one that I can never remember? Or Ravir is new. Luch is here. There was somebody in here that I can't see. But anyway, we're going to talk about Millipedes. Chris H is here. Good. We're going to talk about Millipedes today, guys. Last time we had Kevin on, we talked about flake soil, which is integral. You're going to want to go back to that video. But after you watch this, before you get Millipedes, so you're going to want to have flake soil. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we talked about flake soil and velvet worms, which are velvet worms were there because they're fascinating. Oh, Sandy. Hey, Sandy. So, and Beowulf? That's a really famous name. So Beowulf is here. This is going to be one badass cast. Let me bring Kevin on. He's on location for work. So, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of my personal biases pointed at Kevin today, too. We're going to start with that. Okay, guys? So, Kevin, welcome to the show.
How's it going?
I know you just heard about the personal bias thing, right?
Yeah, I can't wait to see what that is.
All right. So, these are my personal biases. It's like an original OG honky, right? So I'm like the most white bread, crustless grilled cheese sandwich in a human form that you could meet, right? In a cardigan. This is a hoodie. Okay, this is a knit hoodie. This thing is the most comfortable.
This is a hoodie.
That's a legit New York hoodie. All right. First off, Yankees. Come on, man. Pick a losing side like the Cubs. Come on, buddy. Come on.
You're the team that has more wins.
I can't. I'm a Cub fan. I can't.
Nobody can. Oh,
I can't, man. I'm a Chicago Cub fan. I will be. That said, I don't follow sports. I couldn't name you one player.
You like the Bears?
Bears are all right. I mean, if I'm watching football, I'll watch the Bears, but I don't like freak out because they won or care because they lost. Like it doesn't bother me. Yeah, I was a 49ers guy. I was a 49ers guy when I was in high school and into football for no reason.
Right, there you go.
No real reason. You know what? It was their quarterback at the time, and I can't tell you his name. I couldn't tell you his name today. But yeah, what else? What else are my instant biases? These are things that I'm clinging to as an old man that I'm getting rid of as a woke, being into the woke culture now. So,
you're woke.
Speaking of the woke culture, we have back our representative upside down M&M ladies. That I don't care. I think that big girls are sexy. I don't care what you say. So whatever. She still got the high heels.
Bag.
You're good. Yeah, right. These are the W's now. W for women. Maybe that's why they're upside down. They're flipping the script. Is the whole thing. They're flipping the script so that women are strong.
That's it, bro.
You want strong women, right?
Who doesn't?
So my other bias is face tattoos, and so there's 3 kinds of people that get face tattoos. There's federal prisoners. Okay, people in federal prison who that's it. They don't care. They're done with society. It's over. Those are mostly green though, right? There's tattoo artists. They're doing it for a living. Like they can do that and get away with it. Like they can go to a job with a tattoo on their face. And there's tradesmen. That's it. That's the 3 people. That's the 3 groups. If you have a face tattoo and you're not in one of those groups, let me know. I'll change my mind. But in my experience, that's it. I'm not down on them. I think it's cool. I think it's brave. I haven't got a tattoo.
You know what? When I did these tattoos, I was a professional body mod artist.
See? There you go.
Scarification tattoo.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Your scarification.
So you're not that far off.
See?
Oh, yeah. I was actually known for that for a while.
Oh,
Tongue
snap.
slits, ear pointing, all that stuff.
All right, keep your
All
clothes
that
on.
fun
We'll see
thing.
some of that stuff later.
Maybe for the next episode. That's a paid
Nice.
subscription, though.
Guys, hit the Patreon. We'll get a video on the Patreon.
Yeah.
All right, for all of
I got
our
to pay for these bugs.
for all of our $10 viewers. So no, it's $1, guys. Patrons is just $1 now. $1, $3, $5, or $10. Just saying, and every bit
Just
helps.
going
Right?
with it, man.
Yeah, they won't let me do a quarter because they probably would take 20 cents, but I don't care. Get in there. Patreon members only. Jedi Monkey knows what's up. Oh, Manus God is here. Sandy's here. We got a pretty good audience already. So yeah, so that's just my bias. I don't think there's anything wrong with it one way or the other. I observe things, stereotypes. Yeah. That's all. Your mileage may vary. I don't think anyone else said anything about it. It's a sweater pretending to be a hoodie. They're making fun of my hoodie more than they're talking about face tattoos. So yeah, let me just check.
How do you do fellow hoodies?
This is an old man hoodie. I do have cardigans. You make fun of me, but I wear cardigans like it's my jam. Like I'm sad that summer's coming because cardigans.
Hoodie I've ever seen.
This is the only sweater hoodie.
I've never seen like frills around a hoodie like that before.
It's not frills, you ass. It's just the knits. Now I gotta go take it off. Rest of the episode topless. Hell with you guys. This real quick before we get into it too. So my cool bracelet, my parachute bracelet, it's got my daughter found it and made me wear it again. So it's got a little knife so I can cut the rope.
Ooh.
It's got a little compass so I know where I'm going, and it's listed as emergency whistle, but in my wisdom I told my 5-year-old like a half an hour ago that this is a rape whistle. And she doesn't know what rape is, so she let it go right over her head. That was almost a really bad. My wife was like, I was like, I know what I did. I'm sorry. I don't want to have a conversation about rape right now. I think 5 years old is a little early. She just knows if somebody grabs her. Yeah, if somebody grabs her, she's supposed to scream, "I don't know you," because if you just scream, nobody listens. Like they think you're playing or something.
Pretty much.
You got to scream, "I don't know you." Yeah, or scream something awful, like a big swear word, Like if I heard a 5-year-old yell the F word, I'd flip around like, what's happening over there?
Absolutely. I'd give him a high five immediately.
Wife, I'll be right back. I have to go high five this toddler. That was
Gotta go support the kids.
That kid got the emotional ballast in it and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get your Doritos, or am I the only one?
I totally spaced on the Doritos. I apologize for that.
I ran back upstairs because I was like, oh, they're still upstairs in the cupboard. Guys, so I didn't remind you, so that's fine. It's my show. Kevin was supposed to do this with me today, but throughout the show, I'm going to keep eating one of these. Apparently, there's more than one ghost pepper chip in here. You don't know. So I'm going to try not to smell it. I don't really have anything to wash it down with, but I'll be chewing peanut M&Ms, I think, to try to get rid of the...
That's going to be the gnarliest flavor, M&Ms and Doritos.
I'm hoping the chocolate would, get it off my tongue or coat my tongue a little bit. I don't know.
You getting sponsored yet for this stuff?
Did I get what?
You getting sponsored yet? You could be the next shoe nice.
I keep trying. If you watch the show, every episode. So Doritos, if you're watching, or M&Ms, I'm down with you punk dunking on Tucker Carlson. I am down. All right, that's enough of that. That's enough of that, mentioning that guy. Yeah, everybody's excited to see me poop my pants live on TV here. Like it's on TV. Sandy's eating lemon pudding. Okay. Let me just check.
It's a vastly different
my producers
flavor,
say that sounds gross. Yeah, my producers say that sounds gross, Sandy. We're going to be talking to the producers a lot tonight. So, Kevin, let's get into Millipedes. I think that's why we're here. We're like 6 minutes in only. That's good. So, how long have you been keeping Millipedes?
I've been keeping Millipedes about 5 years now. Really
okay.
5 years, yeah. And I've been breeding them for about 3.5 years, almost 4. Yeah, just about that long. And started off with a Cladocricus, Philippine Giant Blues. A lot of people who know me for Millipedes know me for that.
For the Giant Blues?
Yeah, I probably sold well over 1,000 my first year breeding those, just because they proved really fruitful to me. and I guess I got a really high ratio of females, but I had outstanding results with those guys. Then that led me to get other species and try all those guys out, really.
So, when did you start doing flake soil then? Like, when did that come into your life?
Flake soil was shortly after getting my first millipedes, maybe like 2 or 3 months after getting the millipedes. I had found
so
what
like
flake soil was. Yeah.
Okay.
Been doing
Started
the
working on that recipe
for a long time. Yeah,
nice.
Pretty much. I know that recipe is solid right there. And then throughout the time, I've also switched things up. I mean, when I did that first video with you, I didn't talk about all the different mineral additives I use. The base recipe is a great recipe, but then I've added some other things during the time I was experimenting with other supplements in this stuff. So I've updated my recipe as it's going along, just based off the results I get. Bigger animals, better colors on them, having to do less substrate changes. So
yeah, what that's curious. What sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to not forget about this. So we were talking, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, about different species of isopod who like lose their colors, like Jupiters and powder or lemon blues, and you know, you have them for a little while and they dull out. They get like real kind of trash millipedes or isopods. But you're getting colors out of yours. Like, what is the additive that you're using to try to get, or that you think is?
It's a lot of different mineral supplements. So I know tons of people think that millipedes are kept like isopods. In reality, that's the furthest from the truth. No, isopods, when they're sold as cleanup crews, essentially they kind of are. Of course, they eat detritus, that they find other decaying organic matter. They come across some poo, they're going to eat that as well. That's not millipedes at all. It's why part of why I get upset when I see people selling their substrates and, oh, we have worm castings. These are great. We're not growing plants. We're growing animals here.
Yeah.
Do you want to eat shit? I know I don't. So let's keep it fresh for them, you know, something in that aspect. So whereas you'll see isopods in captivity, like the species you mentioned, they'll tend to lose their color. I don't specialize in isopods. Some of my friends do.
Yeah.
And they speculate it's due to dietary things. I know.
Oh, I 100% believe it's dietary. Yeah.
Yeah, I know 2 keepers who have had somewhat of a success just bringing their colors back due to switching up diet. But millipedes, people don't realize they also lose color, especially throughout generations, throughout different breeders and keepers. So if you compare Trigonolus macropygus is one that comes to mention. That's flame leg millipedes. Those are your little burgundy color guys that have the bright yellow legs that taper up to like this pink U towards the top. So originally they came in, they were all this beautiful red color. It was this deep red, but still very distinct. Whereas now it's almost not even noticeable, the red coloring that they have. You have to hold it in a certain light. People aren't really worried about that. They're also a lot smaller than they were when they were originally brought in the wild caught. Occasionally you'll see in the post, or in the groups on Facebook, I should say, you'll see somebody post, hey, I'm from Thailand, or I'm from the Philippines, and look at these flame legs. And you're like, wow, they're double the size and so much more vibrant than the ones we have. Meanwhile, our original stock in the U.S. came from those same animals. Just throughout the years, people didn't try to keep them in the best way that they could. They either didn't know enough, or they were just of the mindset, hey, I'm getting some results, why change what I got? So instead of trying to improve, I feel like the hobby kind of stagnated. So I'd hopefully like to bring that back, or instead of bring it back, at least advance what we have and hopefully move forward just like every other hobby.
Yeah. Let me shout out to Rick real quick. What's up, Rick? Ophi Spider-Verse. That was his daughter I was talking to you about before the show. We've been trying to get some of Kevin's friends on the show, and they have like social anxiety. And I said, you got to go watch the Ophi video. Ophi's got some tough social anxiety, and she opened up real hard. Well, I think so. Yeah, you're right. I don't mean to say that like isopods and millipedes are the same, or their keeping is the same, because you taught me that last time you were on. I assumed it was pretty much the same, except for like white rot wood. You need just white rot wood in there, you're good. And that's why all my millipedes have died. So that's part of it anyway. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do my millipedes a good service when I got them. So, but I was just getting like bumblebees and what is it, crimsons or scarlets?
Scarlets, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and then ivories. I had a couple ivories. Yeah, I had, I think, one ivory somebody gave me at a show, and then I had the smoky oaks. Smoky oaks actually bred for me. They did good. And then I don't know what happened. The whole thing just crashed. I think it dried out on me.
Gordonas are typically a pretty hardy species, but the thing with
Is that the
them,
smoky oaks?
they need that moisture. Yeah, that's a smoky oak.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think I kept them too close to my
with
furnace.
common names.
Sorry, yeah, I suck. I only know common names. So you're like, oh, I got Gigamorphus rabambleshams, and I'm like, cool. That sounds great. I have no idea what you're talking about. But okay, so isopods and the millipedes are that like substrate layer, like they're different levels of detrivore, right? They're still doing similar things, but like on a different level. But in my research, I've done way more on isopods than on millipedes. But the isopods will take out the minerals. Like they're there to cleanse the soil. Like they'll take out heavy metals out of the soil. And I give mine like rock salt basically as part of their supplements, and they crush it. Like they go down on it. So that was not how I meant that to come out. But they they get crazy, not crazy for it. Like they don't come running out, but it, you know, those, you'll see them on it eating it. So that's why I was wondering what mineral, maybe it could be something we could just add. It won't hurt them, but we could add it and maybe see if we get elevated colors maybe.
Oh yeah, so like you were saying with your isopods adding your mineral supplements, when I actually kept isopods, I gave them my men's GNC brand multivitamin. I would literally take one pill and toss it in there with them, and I would see them swarm the pill, and it'd be gone in a day or two, depending on the colony. The giant Porcellio went absolutely insane for it. So like my Magnificus, my Hasi, my Expanses, they all really, really seem to enjoy that. The Cubaris eventually went for it. I've tried that with Millipedes, no success. They really didn't seem that interested in that. So what I do with my flake soil, what I do with my flake soil or my other substrates I prepare, seems like that's a little spicy for you, buddy.
This one is, you know what's weird is it took a minute. It took like 15 seconds, and this bag's been here for a while. I've been meaning to do this for like 2 months. And so I finally got you on and thought you would do it with me. This one's rough. It's not, I don't think it's ghost pepper, but it's up there. It's like that flaming hot level, which I don't do.
So it builds in, so there's just a random assortment of different intensities in there.
Well, it's supposed to be regular nacho and then spicy, I guess. So I don't know if they mix. Like maybe there's one that's going to be hotter than that, but that was, that snuck up on me.
Just want to mention something to Josh. I thought that the Trigonlius would be a low-cal thing as well. Talking with collectors, it's not. One person that I spoke with personally finds them in his yard, both the larger one and the smaller, more dull one. But from my knowledge and what I know from some of the old school heads, the colorful ones were the ones that were brought in and kept and then slowly got down to the ones that we see now. So I think that it is just a dietary thing in that regards, instead of them being more of a locale.
I think, I think that's something that there's something that's missing. I'm going to assume there's just something that they're getting that don't get here. Like there's something in their diet that causes that coloration, it causes that. And like you're saying, like you're saying you're getting better results on like size and color in your millipedes now.
Oh yeah.
Due to these additives and trying to make that soil better and better. Because that's their whole life. Like millipedes, the soil's their whole life, right? That's everything.
Millipedes are glorified earthworms when you look about it. Or when you look at it, they spend the majority of their life digging through the substrate. That's probably 80% plus of their diet, if, you know, like on the small end, because as they're burrowing, they're consuming that. Which is why I stress, no matter what your friend or favorite influencer or some random broad on TikTok with a millipede on her face or some random dude with a millipede on his face says, absolutely no quire in your substrate. It's inedible. They can't digest it. Some of them you'll literally see it poop out if they're large enough to do it. Otherwise, it ends up getting bound in their intestines and killing them.
Yeah.
That's been confirmed. There's one photo I like to share, but unfortunately, that's the only one that I still have saved. I have seen other photos. There used to be more that were posted around in the groups, but I can't find them. Originally, I was going to do an experiment with my Cladocricus on a half quire, half flake soil mix, but I didn't want to end up with a bunch of dead aclads just because speaking with friends, it's a no-no. It's just not worth it. So coir, absolutely not. Any substrate that says that it has coir in it, or what else is it sold as? Coconut husk. Nucifera fiber was something that one big company was using for a while. I won't say the name, but Cocos nucifera, pretty sure it's Cocos nucifera, is the scientific name for coconut. That's like the coconut tree. So anyone that says nucifera fiber is selling coconut fiber or coconut coir, whatever you want to call it. So it's just a gimmick to try to make you think that it's a better product when
it's just renaming.
Really not.
It's like calling a piece of shit a turd. Like turd sounds better.
It's like yeah, there's trash, or that's my garbage, or that's my waste. It's the same shit, just packaged differently. It's not worth it.
I prefer Dookie myself, but
that was a great album, but you can't recreate.
Who did we have on? Oh, Ben Quintanas. I never had a guest before, like just out people for being shitheads, and he was just shooting both barrels at like dropping names. I was like, this is the best thing ever. But I get it. Like, I'm not about that, but it was awesome to hear it like so uncut. Yeah, don't get coco coir, guys. It's a coir. It's the worst thing you could do for your millipedes. Absolutely the worst. Like, a lot of other things can be kept on it, but they're not eating it. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, surprisingly, there's a decent amount of potting soils out there that can be used to keep some species successfully, including native pill millipedes like Onomeris. And I'm not sure if anyone knows his name. Not sure if he wants to be blown up, but a good Asian friend of mine has this magical potting soil, and I both love him and hate him for it because he keeps some pretty delicate species on this potting soil that for some reason they only sell in his area of the state he lives in. So nobody else can find it. When they find it in different states, the ingredient list is different and it just doesn't work as well. But he can get some delicate species breeding and thriving pretty well on this potting soil, mixed with some minimal bark or wood and leaf litter added into it.
That's
but yeah, if you look down on the comment list, the guy might be there, just on there. So
oh, you think he's watching right now?
Find him. Oh yeah, he's the one out there coughing. But his potting soil, I don't know. You just can't beat it. Honestly.
Actually, I've seen Alan's posts, and some of the pictures he has of his stuff is just out of this friggin' world. So, I just saw what are they dragging?
If anyone has potting soil questions, ask him about it.
You got to be an importer exporter, Alan. You got to just start shipping this shit out to us, man.
So the dragon millipedes that he has, I'm not sure if yours are bred on the potting soil. Desmoxys planata. They're actually one misidentified recently, or I should say, Antheromorpha unicata, which was brought in illegally, I might add, by a big name company, so UGR. But they brought it in, they're selling it illegally, and for a fact it's illegal because when you get the boxes, they'll label it as Narcissus americanus or Arctosphaerus streptus gigas, which has recently been taken off the regulated list, so they're legally allowed to sell those. Not legally allowed to sell any other one they have, except for their bumblebees and scarlet. So they mislabel it, but that's a different topic. Anyway, they're selling Antheromorpha unicata, labeled as Desmoxys planata. Antheromorpha get larger. They're also pretty colorful as well, but they're not actually the dragon millipedes that everyone keeps talking about, the Desmoxys. And a bigger difference between them, Desmoxys breed pretty easily. In fact, they're a pest species where they're native to over in Thailand. And if you've ever had them, you'll see they breed and actually produce pretty large brood sizes that grow up really well. So you buy something with that in mind, and you're inexperienced, you get this Antheromorpha, and it ends up dying a few months later, and you have no idea why. My personal experience with them was that the juvenile, they're quick to breed and lay eggs if you have adults, but the juveniles, they're not hardy at all. They really take some delicate stuff on that to get them to go. I don't know, that's interesting, Josh. I know when I got in my Sophronia, they were labeled as a Narcissus, but that's a different topic,
It might be different.
which I'll get into now. So going back to Alan's magical potting soil, Monomeris species pill millipedes are native to the U.S. They will do great on flake soil, without saying, because they do well on his potting soil. In fact, Alan breeds them on his potting soil. So if you want pill millipedes or to get into them, the Monomeris species, or if you want something slightly larger, that's still pretty easily. You like to look at a glomeris species like Glomeris pulchra or pustulata if you could find it. I don't think marginatas in the U.S. Maybe somebody on there can actually help me out with this, but if you can find them, those are bred readily in captivity. They're actually pretty colorful, or not colorful, but you get some variations in them that make them really cool. They all have different patterns as well, so they're a really good starter into pill millipedes. Get some experience with those. Never attempt the giant pills. They will die. I don't care because this person has them and you think they're really cool and neat and, oh, they're giant roly-polies. They're going to die, especially if you have that mindset. That means right there you have no idea what you're doing. So
yeah, and I think I was looking into those for a little while because I just thought they were so cool. And then it came to me that it popped into my head, like I was doing all the research and I was reading it. Oh, I could make it happen. Nobody says they can do it, but I think I could. I think I got it unlocked.
Yeah, like the giant green Madagascars that were grown in years.
God. The golf balls.
Yeah, they all. Yeah. No, they're actually a little larger than that, but I mean they're all gone now. Nobody really made the effort. Some people claim they had all these babies that were doing so well, but never posted any photos, never shared anything. And what do you know? Yeah. They're all gone now. So.
Yeah, my thing was I finally realized, like, hey, this isn't going to work, and I don't need to. If I don't support these people selling them, they're not going to have a market for them, so they're not going to keep them. They're not going to import them. Absolutely. So that's part of responsible keeping that I think is I'm even susceptible to miss out on it too. So, but a lot of species I've wanted, like on every level, insect, fish, mammal, whatever, doing a little bit of research, you're like, okay, I'm not prepared for this. So
yeah,
you know, so do your research, guys. Read all the cons with the pros, because the cons are where you're going to slip up. The cons are when to get you jacked up. And I think millipedes are, absolutely. I think you'll agree with me on this, they are like surprisingly delicate species. Like they're a surprisingly delicate animal. I think we expect them to be like isopods, where you're just like, I threw them in some coffee filters and they're fine.
Yeah, I mean? Pretty much. It's like, here's some dirty coffee grounds. Yeah, look, they're thriving.
I've got babies. My zebras are breeding. Well, no kidding. Yeah, you could keep them on radioactive waste and they would breed.
Yeah, they'll find a way.
In Indo, talking to a few people, what is this? Josh has got a lot of good questions.
Yeah, in Indonesia, they're keeping their native animals in their native waste. I mean, if I have something from my native habitat with their native soil amendments and everything in it, it seems safe to say they're going to thrive.
Yeah, I want to know. So. It's got to be something weird like ant carcasses or something like, you know, like something we would never think of. Like there's a species of ants, and the ant dies, and then they eat the ants, and that's what stimulates their microbial growth or whatever in their gut. That's the theory, right? It's the microbial gut organism.
The theory that we have right now, it's something with our gut biomes, but I have my own other theory that would go with it. I'm not ready to divulge that info yet. I'm still trying to find somebody who can collect me the samples I want to get them assayed to really pinpoint if I'm right or not, because I like having science behind me when I say things. So.
We don't really do that here.
Usually helps.
What's that? Oh yeah, no, science is a word. Okay, yep, verified. All right. Yeah, I like that. I like the fact that you're like, nah, I'm gonna hold on to it. So we'll have you back when you figure it out and crack pill millipedes for everybody.
Absolutely.
I do think they're like that holy grail species right now for invertebrate keepers because they're like that bridge between roly-poly and millipede, you know?
Yeah, they're really the thing that's trying to get more isopod keepers into the millipede scene. And yeah, that's cool because you want the hobby to grow. That's how you learn and make new advancements. But on the downside, there's also, oh, these are just bigger isopods when they're not. And unfortunately, I see a lot of people just getting into the hobby with no idea what they're doing, and they refuse to take advice from people who actually know. And that's just upsetting, because it's the animals that are going to suffer at the end. You know, these little dirt diggers, you know, you try to just show them as much attention as you can, and then there's that one person that'll be like, oh, well, mine does fine. I've had it for all of 3 weeks. You know, you should definitely do this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and they live like, what, 6 months
years
without
under my belt,
eating?
but
yeah,
on average, a millipede can take up to 6 months to die of starvation. That's something confirmed by plenty of people I know, and something you can find in literature, because how long it takes them to pretty much finish digesting things. Like, as stuff passes through their gut tract, there's not only bacteria but other fungi that live in there, and they're producing their own byproducts, their own fungi, and all these things. They're kind of like little labs. They have all these things generating inside of them, keeping them going. And in a larger one, it'll take a long time for that to be depleted. You'll see them slowly stagger about, but it's similar to a reptile going into brumation. They kind of just slow down their metabolism, and they can coast for a while until, you know, they can't coast anymore, and they just succumb to whatever.
And that's sad to see, because I've seen your pictures and your little videos, and you see how active and how, like, inquisitive, like, they're inquisitive. So it's neat to see. And now to think that they're like this tube of laboratory equipment, I totally have this totally different vision in mind. I had this whole story as a kid that insects were like vehicles for these tiny aliens, like like they were different vehicles. Because I watched a lot of cartoons as a kid, and, you know, my parents did drugs. It's all good. It's all good. So that I could see all these little alien little microbes in there doing, like, lab experiments inside the.
Yeah, they got all their glassware, their burners, and everything.
Yeah, just
going
toiling away inside this millipede.
I mean, you got millipedes that produce cyanide, like legitimate cyanide. It's fascinating stuff. Then on the same side, they poop out a turd that's full of some fungus that's essential to allowing nutrients to be picked up by roots. You know, they're fascinating little things, and
it is crazy how
time and credit.
How, like, something that small is so, or that you would just pass it by, but it's so integral to the biome that it's in. Like, even you know, the little garden ones that we have here in Illinois, or I'm sure you have the same species in New York too, but or very, very similar. They are so important, because I'm trying to teach my daughter, like, hey, maybe just flick him off the sidewalk back into the grass, you know, like, he's important. He helps our yard. He helps everybody else. Like, he helps our flowers. It's good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's just so
that's
wild
another
to see.
thing, though. Like, the larger native flatbacks we have, like the Aphiloria, the Sigmoria, the really colorful ones that everyone wants.
Yeah.
Those are another species, or another type of millipede that's best left to the experience. They sell super cheap because people are collecting them in mass outside. There's extremely few people who have had long-term success with keeping them, and even fewer that have had success breeding them and actually getting any results in terms of rearing the offspring to adulthood. No matter how tempted you are, please leave them alone. They belong in the wild, where they're much better suited. If you absolutely insist on trying to get into flatbacks, like I said before, Desmoxys planata, they're a very easy species to rear. Those are your pink dragon millipedes. They're a very easy species to rear. They do amazing on certain potting soils as well as flake soil. They do like a little bit of fungi added, so you could add some mushrooms. They'll do well on that. Or actual U.S. native would be a Pseudopolydesmus serratus, for example. There's also different species of Pseudopolydesmus you can find throughout the U.S., but I've worked with serratus. They're extremely hardy. They do well on a variety of substrates. They actually seem to do best when given decayed coniferous wood, so the stuff you tell people to avoid otherwise. For most round species and other flatbacks, you tell deciduous, which is hardwoods only. Any tree with a needle you want to avoid for them, right? With the exception of walnut,
right,
you want to avoid that as well because the pesticides in it naturally. But for like your African giants, your American giants, your pinkfoots, etc. You want hardwood trees, hardwood leaves. For some of the flatbacks, you want actual softwoods. There's some species out in California that feed on dead redwood trees. Like I said, the Pseudopolydesmus, they actually, I found them on rotting hemlock, along with Sigmoria trimaculata out on some rotting hemlock. So Pseudopolydesmus could be a decent start for some people. I had really good success with them. I just decided to not work with them because I don't want to work with any smaller millipede species anymore. And my Sigmoria, unfortunately, got succumbed by some parasitic mites. So didn't have the chance to actually get those guys breeding. I observed some behaviors, but no eggs or anything from that, thanks to the mites. So that had to end early. But yeah, that's my little spiel about our native flatback.
No, and, that's good. Like, because there's species that I wish there was more information about. Species like, hey, don't bother with these. Like, just don't bother with these. And I think in other, like, to bring it back to isopods again, I hate to do that, but that's like the base where everybody kind of comes together for the show, for the audience. I think that they fall into this trap. I did. I was like, oh, I'm keeping like this species fine. I'm keeping this species fine. Isopod. How hard can millipedes be? Like, this is going to be great. And like I said, I've had minimal to none success with the millipedes, and that's due to no preparation. And I was getting easy species. But it was because I was keeping them, I was trying to keep them the same as my isopods, but with more like white rotwood, like crumbled up white rotwood in the substrate. That was my only difference that I did. And they, like I said, they did okay for a little bit, but I think there's that trap, like, oh, I could keep, Porcellio expansus. I'm going to go get some of these flatbacks that nobody's having success with. I'll make it work because I'm doing better with this super hardy isopod that actually does breed pretty well in captivity. To this thing that like experts are having trouble with. I'll crack the code, and maybe they will. Maybe that person will, but 99% of you guys, it's not. We're not those people. So, but one of you might be. I don't know. But don't do it.
Yeah, as long as you got that dedication. I mean, that's what it comes down to. These harder species, yet it can't just be, oh, I can't find this information. It's, all right, now let me see how I can find this information. That's figured out how to get my gigas to breed. I mean, I studied weather patterns, where they're native to in Africa, and I emulated that wet-dry season. Well, I've had babies twice now. So I'm working on trying to breed Orthoporus ornatus, or Orthoporus in general. Right now I have ornatus. I'm hoping to get Texicolins. And eventually maybe I'll reach out to some of the exotic species of Orthoporus. But from my understanding, those breed much more readily. I'm 100% confident the reason with our U.S. native Orthoporus is because people aren't giving them seasonal variations. It's simple. If you have an animal that comes from an area where it's dry most of the year, and then it has specific times when it's going to rain, then it's obvious that they need those seasonal cues in order to lay eggs and reproduce. Obviously, you're going to have to try to mimic that soil condition as well. So if something comes from the desert region, you're going to want more clay and sand mixed into the substrate. You're not going to want the same substrate that you're using for something that comes from a temperate or a tropical region. So I wouldn't use a substrate that I'm using for my Eclatocrycus for what I'm keeping my Orthoporus in right now. Same way I wouldn't use either of those substrates to keep my African species, because they need a little bit different stuff added to it than the other ones do. So it's all about really knowing what you have and really preparing yourself to keep it, especially if you want to be the person to break that threshold in order to try to crack the code on getting another species to reproduce that no one's really had much success with. That's the only way to do it. You have to study the environment, then hope that you can be successful in recreating it.
Yeah, get that biome.
Really good research, or really good resource I want to make mention of. My few of my friends and myself, we've been working together to build this informational website for millipedes called the Millipede Enthusiast Database. Go on Google, type in the Millipede Enthusiast Database. It is the first link that'll come up. Check that out. We have things from substrates to different photo galleries, some species-specific guides and a bunch of other stuff that we put together. There's scientific papers and sites to back things up with what we claim, as well as experience from some of the most seasoned millipede keepers there are. So definitely worth checking out if you want to learn some more.
The link's in the down there part. So it's already there. So thanks for sharing that with me. Obviously, I'm going to share whatever resources you have. Kevin does have the best flake soil. But his recipe, you can buy it or you can make it yourself. You have your like free form recipe or you give it out. But I will say, guys, like, yeah, I tried it in my garage. When you were on the show last.
Thanks a lot, Luch.
Yeah. Luch is a good guy.
Yeah? How'd that smell?
It lasted like 2 months. I gave up. I was like, we'll just put this in my garden. We'll put it under my like coniferous trees and let them enjoy it. And I think they did. But
it's a really good mulch. I mean, I use that for some of my plants. Well, my wife uses that for some of my plants or some of her plants when I'm not around.
The hardest part I had with it, honestly, was stirring it and getting it like mixed and remembering to take the time all the time. But I was shocked at how you were talking about like once it starts fermenting, like the tub is warm, like it's warm to the touch. Yeah, it's like warm in the area of the tub. Like it's no joke. Because you were saying you have tubs out in your shed or your garage. Yeah. And it's just nice and toasty out there. Go out there, read a book. It just smells like skunk beer, kind of.
Yeah, and then it takes a little while for that to go away. And then just when you think it's all gone, you give it another mix, and there's a whole new flavor that just hits you right in the mouth.
I didn't get that far. I had enough. I was like, this is a lot of work. It's a pain in the ass. You
gotta start mixing 100 pounds at a time. I think I usually have around 300 or 400 pounds going at any time.
And I mean, you're going to go through it because you have to replenish it so much more than like isopods. Between
my own animals and then what I sell out, I usually can't keep it in stock for more than 2 months or so. Then I have to start all over.
How often are you starting to
keep it going constant? Yeah, I try to keep it going constant, but I've honestly been kind of overwhelmed with the requests for substrates. But it's a good thing. So
some of that's my fault. So anytime it comes up, I'm like, Kevin Nasser, go look him up. He's a good guy. I'll look you up, dude. Tell him I sent you. No discount, but it'd be nice if you let him know where it'd be nice if you let him know where he heard it.
I'll get you a hoodie. I'll buy you a real hoodie.
I want with fringe or whatever the hell you called it. Frillies.
Got a little foo-foo frill showing up on that.
You should see my underpants. No, don't. You shouldn't. It's like 90%.
You wear underpants? Got that rich money, huh?
Well, you got the one pair. You rinse them out, you're good. Menagerie showed up tonight.
The next day.
Yeah, right. What was that? Big Hero 6, right? You go front, back, inside out, front, inside out, back. Good to go. It's called recycling.
That's it, man. Saving water. Go green, right? By going brown.
So now, when you're getting these species in, you've got some pretty interesting species. And like you said, you've had a lot of success by doing your homework and breeding some species that are unheard of. Like you don't hear about people having babies or raising them to adulthood again. And a lot of these guys are really slow growing too, which is frustrating.
It's a big issue.
A lot of your bigger guys, right? The one that's like your forearm.
Archaeospira streptus gigas, which is the African giant millipede that everyone wants. Take about 5 years before they can breed. That's a big commitment in itself, just raising something that's small if you can find an actual captive bred juvenile here or something. But usually you'll just get something that's been imported in and sold under a lie that it's captive bred, and it'll be 4 or 5 inches. And for most millipedes, you're like, oh yeah, cool, ready to go. But now you're gonna have to wait probably a year, sometimes longer. It's really having to wait with those guys.
That is wild.
But my aclads, the Philippine giant blues, I've only known 2 other people, maybe 3 other people besides myself who have had success with just about a year and a half, a little under a year and a half from hatching to reproducing. So I attribute that to my flake soil, but other people I know, like I said, a few other people I know have had the same result, but a lot lot of other people I know haven't had that same result. So I'm not really sure. I really think it's down to my substrate, maybe how I'm keeping them temperature-wise, because I do tend to keep them somewhat on the cooler side compared to my other exotics. Like those guys I'll let drop down to the high 60s at night, whereas like like my Thyropigus, I don't let them get down below about 72, and even that's kind of pushing it for me. I like to keep them more around 75, 77. So stuff like that really takes into effect. Like a lot of people don't think, oh, this will need heat, that'll need heat, but no, that's in my experience, that's played a vital role in certain species. And actually just seeing the activity levels is just really interesting.
I mean, that is the key to their whole setup is the substrate. That's, like we said, like that's their life. That's it. Except for little like treats or whatever they get. Yeah, like little treats they would get in the outside world, like some kind of a vegetable that they like, or a mushroom that they found that let's chow this for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I also feed a lot of protein to my millipedes, which is something that a lot of former isopod, now millipede keepers think is something that they really need to focus heavily on, because everyone thinks isopods are going to die if they don't have like 10 pounds of calcium in their little 6-quart tubs, and they're trying to copy that onto millipedes for some reason. Whereas, all invertebrates, their exoskeletons are made up of this calcium layer. Some have more than others. Millipedes actually have this calcium layer underneath the exoskeleton that just gives it a little bit of rigidity. Reality is protein makes up the majority of a millipede's exoskeleton. So I feed protein at least weekly. My gigas get it twice a week. My Spilostreptus cervatus get it twice a week. They're much larger animals, so they're going to need more protein for when they molt. And then pretty much any other calcium. It's very rare that I'll use calcium supplements. Maple leaves, oak leaves, beech, birch, all contain lots of minerals, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, manganese, zinc.
Yeah.
Why aren't people just doing that? This is what they eat. You break it down, let it sit and decay a bit so it's all ready to go. Not only do they benefit from the bacteria and the other microbes that have covered the material, now they're actually getting all the minerals in an easily accessible manner. The same way that we realize if we cook food, we can digest it easier because, our stomach, we've evolved throughout the generations that we've been around. Millipedes, it's the same thing. If something's more readily available for their body to break down and take in nutrients from, then it's going to be nothing but the best option. So having your stuff broken down and then feeding the correct amount, there's no reason to mix in tons of calcium into your substrate. That's not only are you just wasting calcium, but then they don't have the option to get away from it. As they're burrowing, they're going to be constantly eating it. So that could also raise issues. I haven't personally seen anything that I can actually attest to that because I don't have the means to test anything for that. But hypercalcemia is a big issue in like veiled chameleons, for example, or chameleons in general, for example. So I don't see how excess calcium could be beneficial to anything when it just seems unnecessary.
I've watched people dust their crickets so hard for that. I'm going to switch this around so it looks like I'm actually looking at you. I'm like looking over here like, oh, Kevin.
Watch over your shoulder.
Right? He's going to get my sweater. I've seen people just back to veiled chameleons and the hypercalcium like going so overboard. It looks like they're giving them like a Cheeto, but it's a cricket with so much friggin' dust on it that it's like just gut load your cricket, man. Just what are you doing? Like, why are you making extra steps for yourself? Feed it to the cricket, then feed the cricket to the thing. It's the same thing. Like why add all this crap if it's already in? I don't picture millipedes like hunting stuff down, like following a trail. Like, oh, I know there's calcium this way because I left a scent trail to the calcium block over here. Like they go, oh, this is my food source. It has all the shit I need in it. I'm going to eat this. and I'm going to go peace out over here, look for a mushroom, look for a lady, whatever. But this is my thing. It's got everything I need.
Yeah,
So
they're just going to cruise and nibble, and then cruise, nibble, cruise, nibble. So every time they eat, they can't avoid getting that extra supplementation, which is going to lead to problems sooner or later. Same way it leads to problems in us, same way it leads to problems in chameleons, etc., all those other things that you want to go down. I mean, it's just not worth it.
Right, and they're going to get it in the incremental levels, like where it's not going to be a hyper.
They'll get it in the appropriate levels because it's coming from something that there's already bacteria taking it in, processing it, excreting other things from it. They can take it in easier. If they want to avoid this leaf, they can just tunnel down. They're not worried about this powder that's mixed into every little bit of the substrate. So why not just do this all natural method and save yourself money? There's no reason for the excess calcium, especially if you do. Most people for protein source, they're going to use fish flakes. Fish flakes in itself right there has your extra calcium and a bunch of extra minerals. So do that
good
once a week.
Magnesium. Sorry.
Golden.
Yeah. So why add all this extra stuff? You've got whatever. Like, what do you use? You said you kind of power them down on protein more than most people think. Like, maybe not. Like, here, I'm going to keep them on a pork chop. But like, what do you use?
Honestly, if I'm eating a pork chop, I'll cut a piece before I cook it and toss it in there. If I'm cooking chicken, I'll cut a piece, toss it in there. If I'm feeding out my snakes, one of them doesn't eat something, I'll cut it up, toss it in there. Like, I've literally cut the legs off frozen thawed rats my pythons didn't eat and toss those in my millipede bin. So I do stuff like that. I'll take a frozen thawed pinky mouse, toss that in, fish flakes, koi pellets, basically whatever I have on hand. Cat food. Like,
I've heard of cat food, like premium cat food.
Oh yeah, dog food's another really common thing.
Yeah, that's easy. And then like if you're keeping roaches and stuff, you have that stuff on hand too. So okay, so they're down on that a lot.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't thinking like a pinky mouse and stuff. Like I wasn't thinking that didn't even cross my mind for millipedes.
Oh really? They go to town on pinky mice. One of my adult gigas will probably eat an entire pinky in less than an hour.
Unbelievable.
And that's not even my biggest. That's probably like my 8 or 9 incher. I have one 11-inch gigas, and when she comes out, she just cleans house on whatever she's eating. I'll always have to go back and top off some extra for everything else in there.
The picture of that one on your arm, where she goes from like your palm to your elbow, is out of this world. Like, I wish I was exaggerating, you guys. Like, that's this millipede, and it's what she got to be like almost an inch around, right?
She's not sure exactly. I'll try to get my calipers on her when I get back home, but she's maybe 1.5 times the thickness of a Sharpie. Like, she's maybe like a highlighter marker or something. She's really good around. She's way thicker than that guy.
Unbelievable. So that's a Sharpie.
Yeah,
so 1.5 times a Sharpie, like maybe a little bigger than my thumb, which...
Yeah, definitely bigger than your thumb.
I'm a Sasquatch. I've got big ass hands, so like 40% Sasquatch. That's a millipede. Yeah, I think I want to say my smoky oaks were almost as big around as my thumb. Like, not quite.
They're girthy. They're definitely thicker than smoky oaks for sure. Yeah.
Smoky oaks
I'll
are
have to get my calipers on her though for sure.
Yeah, let's see that.
I haven't actually thought about that. Yeah.
It's all up here,
I'll
man.
send you some updates for that guy.
I'm changing the game. So
groundbreaking. One Dorito at a time. Where's the ghost pepper?
I think it was that first one. Like, I haven't had anyone hot since then. The very first one, I was like, Jesus Christ. I don't think it was ghost pepper because I think I'd be dying. I think I'd still have tears in my eyes. But
you got to just crush it all up and then lick the residue. Yo, raise money right now. $100 if he snorts a Dorito.
Guys, who's down? I got NARBC coming up. I got to get there. I got to actually buy something this time instead of just shaking people's hands.
Got to start the Dorito campaign. That's it.
Right?
One snort at a time.
One snort at a time. I have such a low tolerance for anything even remotely like that. That it would be that'd be the rest of the episode is me choking on the floor. trying not to throw up.
I think that'd be worth it.
Probably get like 30 new subs. Sandy's the one saying do it? Oh my God.
I bet if you do that, you'll get a lot more than 30 new subs.
But then I got Mama Menagerie. Yeah, I'd have to cut that into like a 3-second clip. And
then do it.
That's Mama Menagerie right there looking after me. She just wants to.
I don't know. I don't see anything.
She wants me to stick around for a D&D.
Do it. I see do it, Josh. I see Doritos straight to the brain. I see. I'd rather snort Doritos because it's covered by the little chat bubble, so I'm gonna ignore the rest that it says.
Yeah, see my audience? They're like, just kill yourself. This is good.
Just do it, bro. You're not gonna kill yourself. What's a little nose pain?
Chip companies don't want to get sued. They won't make it too hot. Beetle, you are so wrong. You have not seen chips today. Chip technology is so far past what I ever thought it would get to.
There's that one. It's like purple. It comes individually sealed or something.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's a Doritos challenge.
It's like it's a potato chip. I thought like a Pringle almost.
Is it? I'm not sure. I just saw the video with this dude he puts in his mouth and he's like spitting out blue. He's just crying, talking about how hot it is.
I don't even want to know what that is. Like, I was a chef for a little while, or almost a chef, I guess. And the stuff they were coming out with when I started, like literally started, all those crazy peppers were coming out. I'm like, why? Why would you do that to yourself? Like, you can't even taste it. At some point, your whole face just goes numb.
Yeah, it's not enjoyable.
Yeah, like that's where you know you have taste buds in your anus is when the next day. Because you could probably taste it. I imagine you taste it again. Just feel it. Not good. You guys didn't know you were going to get that conversation, did you? We'll get back to the poop conversation later.
About Dorito butt.
Yeah, Dorito butt. I got ghost pepper booty. So now we have talked about some hard to keep species so far, and I don't even know. Now I want to get a bucket of these dragon millipedes because they're so cool. I want to know if they would live with my ants to see if they would be that hardy, but my ants are kind of savages.
I feel like I saw a video of that. Somebody set up a big paludarium and they have ants, the Dismoxies, and Trimerceros vipers all in one setup. But I can't remember where I saw that.
A viper?
They have a viper set up in a paludarium with species of ant as well as the Dismoxies planata and some Cubaris isopods.
I had isopods.
Who that was?
I had isopods in with my girls here, and then they and millipedes, like house millipedes from outside, and they disappeared. I wasn't feeding enough protein apparently, so now they eat a full size dubia in a day. Like it'll be gone. It'll be pieces. So
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I have like exoskeleton and a wing left, and yeah, it's pretty wild. Like within 5 minutes, you can see them. That's why I want to set up this whole thing is the swarming activity. Like I love to see the natural activity. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
Like to hear about your bins too. Like they're pretty well set up, so you can see those natural activities, and so you get to observe your millipedes and see.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this works. They're heading over here for this. This is their priority. What else is going on? We just had a guest on that had a mist system. Easy Eddie, he's got a mist system for his isopods. He's doing some of his like the spiky ones that are new now.
Yeah, Eddie's got an insane rack when it comes to that setup.
Yeah. He's like on you. He's like talking about doing all the research and where they're from, and it sounds like it's way easier to find out information of like where they're from, regions that the millipedes are from.
It's hit or miss. Like
okay.
Well, lately talking about UGR and their misidentification, out of I think like 5 species they got in, 1 was identified correctly, and the rest were either deliberately labeled wrong or they just didn't know what they got. So the millipede keepers, for the most part, or the millipede hunters, I should say, are still deliberately holding out specific locations, true names of things, true identities, all this. So it's kind of like the earlier days of the isopod hobby. I mean, now there's some people that are more into divulging where they see these, like the Cubaris in the wild and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's really not that out there right now. That's why it's really important that when somebody does have locality data or collection data where they originally came from, keep track of that. Do not lose that at all, because who knows, eventually down the line, you're trying to find somebody with this exact species from this location to keep that line going. Now you have it, whereas this person might have my same stock, so I'm just going to keep on inbreeding this and not actually spread it out and better the genes.
Right, because you want to keep mixing. We were talking about that. Like, is that a big deal in millipedes too? You're trading a little bit with other guys to kind of keep the gene pool fresh?
Yeah, a lot of us will share different species with each other just to get them established, or we'll swap a species to keep our genetics going. We constantly talking, making sure who got what from where did that person get it from, if they're first line on importing something. We really try to keep a close eye on all that. This way, hopefully it works. It should work out for the best.
And that's awesome, guys. See, that's what differentiates, I think, a breeder, like an actual breeder and a producer of these animals, from like some jag like me who got, I got Panda Kings, and of course they're breeding like crazy, so now I'm going to sell them. Like, that's not a seller. There's a difference. Like, I'm not a seller. I'm a hobbyist who's unloading my extras to make some cash. Like, this is the thought process that goes into, like, almost like sounds like a millipede commune almost. Like, guys, you know what I mean? Like, it's beneficial to all of you to share these animals and this information. So it's beneficial to the whole group and the hobby. So, and the animals, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. I have animals that I've gotten, and once I have offspring, I send them out to some friends, and they've done the same in return. People have ordered things and they're like, Kev, I just got these in. I'm sending you a pair right now. Let me know how you are with them. So I have stuff like in the hobby with the seasoned guys. It's a lot of that going on, just because the real people that have been around, they typically are the ones that want to see this actually do better and become something bigger than what it is. It's still a little underground right now. It's just getting to the surface. So
well, and it's so smart.
Forward, hopefully for the best.
Yeah, it's so smart. Like, if I got in some crazy, if I was a millipede guy and I got into some crazy species that I got in from a connection overseas or whatever, and I got in 2 dozen, I would want to send 2 here and 2 there. Maybe I keep 6, or I keep a dozen. I send out a pair all over the place to see, like, if you have more success, then what is different that you're doing that I'm not? Do you know what I mean? Like, what can I switch? What do these guys need? It helps the scientific part of it so much more to have those different controlled experiments at the same time. Because you've got the animals essentially, hopefully from the same place, because you got them in a shipment. So the only differential is who's keeping them on what.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're constantly comparing those, like that TMed website that I briefly mentioned before. On there, you'll have my flake soil recipe, 2 of the other members' different substrate recipes that they use. Now, one of them, Millipede Train, she's a pretty close friend. Well, everyone's really a close friend of mine that's on there. But Millipede Train breeds some really exotic African species on her substrate mix, and she doesn't use flake soil. She breaks down everything in there, the ratios that she uses. So somebody else could give that a shot and see how it works for them. If it works for her, I don't see why those results wouldn't be replicated across the board.
Yeah, and if you're sharing your recipes and you're sharing your husbandry information, like you're saying temperatures, and you're doing seasonal changes for these animals, which, by the way, that is fucking genius. It's one of those things that's like genius and totally like duh at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, I hate to say it that way. I'm not trying to say it like to discredit you, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. Because people are like, oh, I have these 2. I just tossed them in a bin and forgot about them. I have a bunch of babies. Why aren't these doing the same?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you think about it? Over here, this species, pretty much the same season all year round. This one goes through 2 different seasons. This one goes through 3 different seasons,
Yeah.
It's all really different. That most people don't take that into account. So yeah, that's something people should focus on more, looking into where these animals actually come from. Not, oh, I got this. Can you tell me more about it? Or I just got this. What's the best substrate? What temperature should I keep it at? These are all questions you should already have asked and answered before you ever purchase the animal.
Yeah.
You're just setting it up for failure if that's the mindset you go. Let me get it and then try to find it. It's just the wrong way entirely.
My mod Beetle is good. Well, he's about to be a mod, but Beetle's busting my chops for dropping an F-bomb. Ophi's not our 9-year-old audience member. It is Jose Avila's kid, who was super stoked to be on the show for 30 seconds. It was amazing. Like, it's weird having fans, you guys. I didn't realize. I thought I just had friends. I just see everybody as a friend, but then they'll be like, oh, man, I'm talking to, Josh. Like, I'm nobody. I just know people.
Their community is pretty tight knit so far. I've noticed, or not tight knit, I should say. It's pretty open. Like, people are more willing to chat and go out their way to initiate things. Like, coming from the reptile hobby, especially when I dealt with monitors and elapids, those are really like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. How many times have you bred this? How many times have you been tagged? Like, no, dude, like, I'm trying to learn and see what's good. But nah, people are a lot more open in the invert hobby, it seems. So that's definitely.
I think that's true too. I was comparing you earlier. I was trying to describe to my wife. I was like trying to describe the energy that you're going to bring to the episode about millipedes, like the intensity. And she's like, "You sound like you're talking about the dart frog people." And I started laughing, and I'm like, "No," I said, it's not the same. I said the dart frog people, they bring that same energy, but it's got this total negative stank on it. And that's a generalization. Again, I'm sorry, guys. Face tattoos, dart frog people, it's the same dumb shit. But like, this is like an informational level that you're bringing to it. Like, it's an educational level, not like you're doing it wrong because this is how I do it. Because there is that, even if you have the same species, like, you have to know. You've seen it, you're friends, and you share animals, you have the same species.
Oh,
you're doing something almost radically different, and you're getting the same results. Or, you're doing good this year, then he's doing good next year, doing totally different things with them.
Not
totally, but
like Alan and his potting soil. Meanwhile, I don't trust half the potting soils I come out in the hardware stores out here.
No, you don't know what's in it or what it's been stored with.
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you be excited to hear something else is working with great results from somebody else instead of, no, I'm going to keep this to myself. Only I should know this secret. This is what made me me. Like, nah, just get over yourself. Too many egos, and we really need less of that in the hobby.
Well, and I think that people need a wake-up call. All these, it's more prevalent in the isopod community. I think that, like, if you buy isopods, in a year, you're a breeder. Do you know what I mean? Like, because you're going to have success. 99% of the people that buy isopods and care about them at all are going to have success and have babies. And they're going to have so many babies they don't know what to do with them. So they're going to be selling them or giving them away or whatever. Generally, I give stuff away.
You see the people that post like, oh, what's the best isopods for me to get so I can start selling them quick? What's the cheapest, most easily bought isopod? Like, random stupid things like that. Like, they're not in it for the love of the animal. They're not in it for the hobby. It's like, oh, this is the new fad. How can I capitalize on that?
Yeah, and it's easy. It is easy. Like, if I wanted to sell pandas, I could sell pandas all day. And if I took them serious, if I really went crazy and was breeding them and pushing them for that, I'm pushing for color. But, like, there's got to be species like that in the millipedes. Like, you have your easy ones that are easy breed, like scarlets and bumblebees. I see them everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I felt bad because I didn't buy them from a local pet store because they were keeping them on Covacor, and I'm like, I can't. Nope, they're just going to die. Like, they're probably already impacted. I'm not. You have that thing, like, I'm going to save them. But again, you're just promoting that store to get more in and keep them, like, in the most horrible conditions.
Exactly.
So they're under heat lamps. What if
they get a different species?
Yeah.
Something else that's a little bit more delicate. Oh, and then that just dies. And then that used to be a big problem with the millipedes. When imports would come in easily back in the earlier days, these stores were getting them en masse, selling them to whoever, giving them this bad information, and then what happened? The majority of them died, and now we don't have them in the hobby anymore, and we can't get them in the hobby anymore. until there's some radical changes made with the laws. But until stuff gets deregulated better, it's going to be a few keepers that have the really high-end things. And then the rest are either going to have to hope something changes or start getting permits.
The permits is where, on the one hand, they're easy, from what I understand, but on the other hand, like it takes a lot of time. So it's just jumping through hoops, the right hoops in the right order.
Easy for isopods. It can be trickier for millipedes, but again, right now that's the best way to go, especially if you want the really high-end guys and you want to do it right.
And it legitimizes the hobby. Like it legitimizes the hobby in the name of the government, in the eyes of the government who are essentially in control of this stuff. So you want to do it the right way and go through the right channels and not take shortcuts and go to some weird animal expo in a barn somewhere. Just
absolutely.
What's under the table?
Why don't you peek under here and see what I got for you? Reach in the pocket, you know?
Those guys are still pennies those guys are still there. Those old schoolers that they have. Oh God, I'm tangled up. Too many wires. There's still those old schoolers that have you could buy baby marmosets and kinkajou and a desert viper or what, you know what I mean? They have this random assortment of crap that's all looking horrible. It's just wild.
For sure. I mean, there's always somebody that's going to be selling something under the table, but eventually that'll end up hurting the hobby, especially more and more people start getting things and just showboating and.
Well, yeah, and that's where all that that crap in Florida and the federal law they were trying to put into place, and I don't know where that went. All the hype of that went away, so I'm guessing that they beat it.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, but yeah, if any negative attention is not good, that whole any news is good news, not when it comes to hobbies, the things that people already don't understand and want to restrict. Nobody's going to bat standing up for bugs. It's kind of hard to persuade somebody that this bug is good and shouldn't be on a list where I need permits to keep. It's just ludicrous.
To talk to your congressman about that.
Dog. Yeah, it makes no sense. I could buy a dog from a pet shop that could potentially hurt somebody, but me keeping a bug that eats dirt is an issue. It just doesn't make sense.
The only thing I can think of is that part of it that makes sense is part of it that almost makes sense is you have a community area like Hawaii or a small island like the Philippines, or I guess Philippines isn't that small, but something like that, like a secluded ecosystem. And you bring something in that could totally disrupt it. You would never think that it did. Like cane toads in Australia, or I can't think of what's in Hawaii. They're super strict there.
The gals, giant African land snails did a big amount of damage in Hawaii.
In Hawaii?
In fact,
I didn't know they were.
They actually were observed eating in Florida too. I'm pretty sure they're observed eating gypsum off the sides of buildings.
Florida,
straight up eating the mortar and gypsum off brick.
Supposedly Florida got rid of them. They eradicated them again, but there's no way. Yeah, they're just.
I know they didn't, because people still have them, and people are still posting that they're catching them in Florida all the time.
Right, and there's babies. There's eggs somewhere that you didn't find the eggs.
Dude, you're not eliminating snails.
They were all over the place. They were all over the state, and there's no way they're getting rid of them. They would eat the gypsum. You are saying the adobe coating or whatever right off the building.
Yeah.
And they stink. They leave that slime everywhere. I want one. Don't get me wrong. But, that's wild. That's wild that. Yeah. So you definitely have your invasive species. So I think we're just getting, on the one hand, I'm glad that the lawmakers are getting a little more cognizant of being careful with it. And on the other hand, I think a lot of this is overreaction. So, because millipedes,
a lot of the things are. It's that quick knee jerk. There's no evidence of millipedes causing any harm to the ecosystem. Even the ones that we have, they're invasive. Your bumblebees, Anadenobulus manilicornis, that's an invasive species here. The scarlets, Trigonolus corallinus, another invasive species here. Those little flat ones that everyone finds in your backyard, Oxydilus gracilis, that's all over the world invasive. but they're not really causing any problems because the niche that they fill, it's an area where there's plenty to go around, so to speak. So looking at that as opposed to a giant land snail that is hermaphroditic, produces hundreds of eggs that most of them will grow up to be a decent size. They can start reproducing between 3 and 5 months, I believe. And they eat everything indiscriminately, as we just mentioned, including the mortar and gypsum off brick.
Including your wall.
Yeah, so
good luck keeping that thing.
All right. Yeah, maybe let's regulate that a bit. I can understand that. But a millipede? Come on, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't want... The only good news, like you live in New York, I live in Illinois, like we're not going to get overrun by giant African land snails because the temperatures, they're not going to survive here more than 3 seasons tops. Exactly. You know what I mean? If they come here in the spring, they're going to be done by the end of fall.
Oh, yeah. But they can't allow cold states to have them because then I could just drive up here and drop it off down there. You know, it's one of those things.
Right. I'm not advocating to make it legal. But one guy's invasive species and another guy's like seasonal problem, maybe once a month or once every decade.
I understand what you mean.
Like I happen to live in a state where we don't have a whole lot of invasive or even really non-native species because the conditions just aren't conducive to that for a lot of these, like Florida or even lower Georgia and Alabama. Like they have the issues, Texas, with all the truly invasive species like that really take over ecosystems. But I can't imagine, like you're saying, there's the non-native millipedes and the ones that are here. I can pull them out of my yard. If I dig up a one shovelful of soil, I'll have 20 of each. Do you know what I mean? Like they're clearly coexisting. One's not really out competing the other one. They're the same thing, but in a different shape, you know?
Exactly. They all fill the same niche, and most of them aren't that actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Most of them aren't that prolific. And if they are, a lot of them won't have babies that actually get to reproducing size. And if they do, there's a lot of things that specialize in eating millipedes out there. So there's a whole gauntlet of things that they would have to overcome to actually make it to a mature size to reproduce. And
I mean,
the threat just isn't there.
I'm positive that the amount of isopods that I released in my yard, to be fair, they were native. I pulled them from my yard originally. 2 years later, I had like 20,000 of them. And I just was like, they came from the yard, we'll put them in the yard. There's probably not a millipede for a city block because the isopods probably ate them when they were molting or something. But so it wasn't a good idea. We still find insane amounts of isopods when it rains or whatever. They're everywhere here.
In the wild, the millipedes will be fine. There's actually other things for isopods to eat, but that's a big no-no in captivity. Don't do that, especially not portfolios. I will say as a side note, I have successfully kept rubber duckies with my Chromis diaphanous millipedes, which are a species of African flatback that also do very well in captivity if you can find them. They're a pretty good size. They get about 2.5 inches long. They're this brown color with some nice yellow edge on the segment, but they're just really hard to find. If you do, they're a very hardy species, do well on rot wood. I never really saw them eat any fungus, just really rotted wood was the whole thing. And they were kept totally fine with rubber duckies for 2 years before I decided to take the tank down.
And they were all breeding?
Yeah, I had no issue.
They were both breeding and doing fine?
I only had females for my Chromis. I could not find a male. I got them tiny, and then by the time they were adults, I ended up with all females. But they lived with the rubber duckies from the time they were small juveniles up until adulthood. And there were no issues. I'd actually see the rubber duckies using their burrows on the sides of the tank, like actually digging way down about 4 or 5 inches into the substrate, whereas in my rubber ducky enclosure, I never saw them make burrows anywhere near that deep. I found that pretty fascinating, actually. But rubber duckies also aren't really protein hungry like that. So
that's true. Most cubaris
that much of a risk.
Most cubaris aren't like snacking on living things. If they molt or whatever, they'll eat that shed probably, but they're not going to go after, even if that gooey. I would assume. I haven't seen none of my cubaris have been like murder it. They've been kept fine with most things.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. I had a question come up and I lost it out of my brain. My poo brain just deleted it.
All that Dorito poo.
Yeah, you know what? I think it was just that one chip, man. I'm like mostly done with this bag, and I'm just like tired of eating it. I just literally am just tired of eating it. It's not that I'm giving up. That first chip, I swear to you guys, I was like, oh, and it wasn't immediate. So, what was I going to ask you? Rubber duckies. Oh yeah. So I know there's like some dimorphism in the species that I kept. There's a little bit of sexual dimorphism. They're missing that 7th leg in the males, and they have the saddles. All the species I kept had the saddles.
So a lot of the American species, like, well, the Narcissus will have it. Chicobolus have the saddles if they're males. As far as I know, all species, including the flatbacks. I have to double check pill millipedes, but the flatbacks and the Gylides or spider strepsidae, round body millipedes, males will be missing the 7th pair. They'll let their pair of legs on the 7th segment down from the head. And some species, you'll actually see their gonopods protruding out from it. It kind of looks like little black shriveled up things on some of them.
Okay.
Other ones will just have 2 tiny nubs poking out. Some won't have any. And then, like you said, some will have that visible saddle on the males by the neck where the gonopods are. And then in the same aspect, you have some species where the females will have a really bulbous head, and that's pretty common in Thyropygus and certain other Asian species.
Okay.
I'm not sure the significance of that, but like instead of like your Africans, like your giant African millipedes, where a male and female, the male will have a slight bulge, almost like a saddle, but not quite, and then the female just have her normal body taper. It's almost indistinguishable unless you have that eye for how to tell them from male, female, just from the top. But then like my Thyropygus, the male have that big saddle, visible gonopods, and then the female's head is just, it's so massive. It looks so awkward. It's this big bulbous head, and then it tapers really narrow, and then they start to fill back out.
Now I need to see these pictures. That I got to go back and look at your pictures.
Yeah, Alan. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, pill millipedes don't have the missing pair of legs. They're sexual organs at the end.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks, Alan.
I haven't seen any evidence. They don't have saddles either, right, Alan? I haven't seen any evidence of saddles.
No, they don't.
Okay.
Pills won't have the saddles, nor will flatbacks.
I would like to get some glomerus. I would like to get a pill millipede, regardless of what it looks like. Just one that you can keep.
Pustulata, both of those really easily kept. In fact,
Cool.
I think Alan might be able to help you out with that.
Okay. Is Alan here, or does he just know guys?
That's Alan Gion right there.
Yeah, no, I mean like here in the audience. I mean here in the States.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh no.
All right. I thought you were saying that he's so the potting soil he gets is in America.
Oh yeah, it's in Alabama.
I thought you were talking about like it's in the Philippines or Thailand.
No, that's what makes me even angrier. He's in the U.S. and the same brand that he gets, when you look at the ingredients in other states, is different.
So you can't order his brand on Amazon or something?
No.
Well, so you said it's the same brand, but it's a different makeup.
Yeah, the composition will be different.
Well, now, this is what a dork I got to be in front of my wife. So she humors me. She's not into any of this stuff at all. She lets me keep it. But we were out, and I was looking for potting soil, like a non-additive potting soil, maybe some peat in it. That's kind of my go-to for my isopods. And I found it, and it was on sale. And I was like, can't get it. And she's like, why can't you get it? It's here. It's like half off. I said, look, because it was on those racks outside, you know. So they had a pallet above it, and it's out in the outside. It's out in the rain. It's out in the elements of the like high grow, full of crap, you know, for the plants, all the fertilizers and stuff. And it's directly above the pallet that I'm looking at that I want. And I'm like, I can't get it. It's contaminated. Like it's too much potential that it's contaminated. I can't do it. And she was just like, this is a crazy amount of thought that's going into dirt for bugs. And I said, I put this much time and effort into them, you know, it's been like 3 years now. Like I can't just throw that away because I'm not thinking, you know.
Yeah, especially if you have some high-end species. I mean, it's rather take a drive, wait till they get some different stock than, this might be good, this might not be good.
Yeah, or even pay a couple of bucks more at a place that like Ace Hardware that doesn't have the pallets stacked on top of each other.
Like I made the mistake. My wife, she found some oak leaves on her car leaving work. she brought them home for me, and she's like, oh, hey, I found these leaves. You could toss them with your hand. I'm like, oh, cool, thanks. I didn't really think about it because when I collect leaves for myself, I know it's a pesticide-free area, everything. And unlike all those experts that say, bake your leaves, bake this, I just toss it in because, whoops, it just went.
This guy.
But, yeah. Well, unfortunately, like I said, I didn't collect it. My wife did. I ended up losing a whole colony of roly-poly roaches, Nasserpedes. TJ, if he was here, he would know. But roly-poly roaches and most of my Narcissus ocrassius due to the leaves being contaminated. So better to be safe than sorry. And just, you don't know, you're not 100%, forget it, let it go.
I ask, so I have it's a wild, long story, but there's a cemetery that I'm familiar with nearby. And so I've talked to the groundskeepers, and they still don't use any like insecticides or any chemicals on the lawn at all. And so what they'll do, the groundskeepers, they rake up all the leaves like twice a month or something, and they put them all in one big pile. And they've got all the branches, that they've picked up that have fallen out of the trees, and they've got those over there. So they've just got piles of white rot wood. They've got piles of like decaying lichen covered sticks, bark, leaves. I've collected the whole time I've had isopods and arthropods, just collected that stuff from there. I'll go with garbage bags. They'll come up and be like, oh, you're back? Because, they used to bust my chops all the time.
Weirdo every time.
Hey, it's a weird guy getting leaves in a garbage bag, bringing them back home. But I had to watch my neighbors because I was collecting, I was stockpiling basically leaves from the fall, their yard waste bags. And then I would find out later, like, oh, well, this neighbor uses all kinds of pesticides and stuff. So I didn't know which bags were his. So I had to throw everything out. I had like 15, 20 yard waste bags in my garage.
Oh, that's a rough one, dude. That's a gold mine right there.
Yeah. So I have the stuff that I collected myself, like over in the corner over here. But now I'm doing, have you tried this with the millipedes? They eat the rotting leaves too, right? They go through the dead leaves.
Yep.
I give them half dry.
Oh, besides Substrate.
Yeah, I give them half dry and then I soak. I've got like 10 pounds soaking. That's mostly water weight, but let them soak, let them rot a little bit, and kind of ferment almost. I got the idea from you.
Yeah, typically I don't do anything dry. Like if I'm gonna pinch, I just want some top leaf cover, then I'll throw some dry leaves. Otherwise, everything gets soaked until it feels slimy. That's when it has that nice biofilm, all the bacteria and stuff on it, and then I just toss it in and let them do their thing. And that's when you'll see they swarm it. They come and just go crazy for those nice slimy leaves. They just go to town. All my babies will come to the surface and eat that as well.
I didn't know what to call it. That makes total sense. Like it didn't occur to me.
It has that iridescent
sheen
that forms on it. That's proteins. That's legitimately proteins leaching out, along with some other things like some diaper and stuff. Yeah. Gets that real fun. It's really good for your plants, that water. And
that's a good idea.
To answer that, Green Jedi Monkey, baking does not destroy pesticides. In fact, depending on what chemicals are in it, baking could release hydrocarbons, which are harmful to you as well. So if you think it might have pesticides, don't bake it. Give it a good soak outside. Dump all that water, soak it again, dump all that, keep doing it. And if you have something you're willing to test it out on, like some dubia roaches or powder isopods, give them a small bit and see what happens. Otherwise, let it go. If you think they have anything else, like any chance of pesticides, just forget it. And sandy, the mold is good. That's nothing to be concerned about. When you soak your leaves, like I said, you want them that slimy. If you have the leaves, you soak them, you take them out, toss them in your bins, and you notice that they mold really quick, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're using cottonwood or poplar leaves, which are very prone to molding themselves because they break down super quick. So no matter what, you're going to have that issue with them.
See? I feel like if you have to go through all that problem of rinsing and you're questioning enough that you're going to rinse it 9 times and then do all kinds of other shit to it, like just get other leaves. Like throw those out. Yeah. Get leaves somewhere else. Like why? It's dead leaves. They're everywhere. Go find a place that you trust that is a good source.
Go do it.
So don't be don't overdo your work, guys, unless you're making flake soil. It's the only hard thing you should be doing.
You're trying to recreate nature. That's why ruin something that's tried and tested through centuries and longer, you know? Like, it's the best way to do it.
Do you, and the last species I want to ask you about is the one that I want the most, I think. I want to be able to keep them successfully before I get them and not be that impulse buying jerk. Feather millipedes. The little, the ones I've seen the most of are those little
pink guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, the brachybees. Those are actually really, really easily, well, yeah, they're pretty easy to keep in captivity. You want a lot of dead wood and fungus. Fungus is their main thing. So if you could collect, when you're out harvesting wood, if you see called polypore, which is usually the mushrooms that you see emerging from the side of standing up dead trees. If you look at it, some of them kind of feel hard. You want the softer variety where it has a bunch of gills on the bottom. It's called polypore because of all the gills on the bottom. It's multiple pores for that to come out of. They'll eat that. Or you want to go even easier, go to your grocery store, get some portobellos, cut that up, toss it in. If you have see some white rot wood out there that has some fungus on it, take that, soak it to kill any potential hitchhikers, toss it in there, let it go, you know? That's what they thrive on. That's actually what they need, that fungal material to survive.
Okay, so I can find feather millipedes. Fungus is the key.
Yeah, I'll set you up with somebody who has those, who breeds them.
Okay, cool, man.
They'll be able to give you a lot more info.
It won't be soon, but I got too many projects going on right now, and they're both paludariums. I don't want to put millipedes or isopods in those, really, because I don't want them to, just because they're idiots. I don't want them to walk off and just keep drowning. But yeah, springtails for sure. They can drown.
To answer Alan, yeah. No, he's not in the group. I got a buddy who kept brachybees, I think like Tony, and his ate portobello, well, baby mushrooms, button mushrooms, which are literally just not fully developed portobello mushrooms. So try it when they're white. I don't know if he gave fully grown adult portobellos, but it's the same species of mushroom, so I'm not sure.
Or if you could do the other
Green
ones, like
Jedi, I'm not sure if, well, I assume you could feed them psychedelic mushrooms, but I'm guessing the bitterness might dissuade them. I'm honestly not sure.
He's just being Jedi. Don't worry, he's just being Jedi. I don't think. If you want to go and waste your stash on your featherpedes, that's on you, man. Yeah, watch him just walk in circles. In our last moments, guys. What's that?
Just laying on their back, staring up.
Yeah, walking in circles.
The colors.
Just walking in circles like, I will say, I've heard of an experiment. I haven't tried it yet. I've wanted to try it forever. So if you take a blue Bic pen, specifically like the regular no frills capped blue Bic pen on
cap for real?
On whatever, a paper, no cap.
No cap for real. Hashtag blessed.
FRFR. I said lit fire to my coworker today, and she just looked at me. She's brand new. She looked at me and just started blinking. And I was like, yeah, lit fire, like it's so awesome. It's lit fire. She's like, you don't use them together. She was totally correcting me, and I was doing it on purpose. So I was choking back laughter.
Like, nah, that is not busting on God. For real, no play. Respectfully.
See, you said you were going to try, and nope, there's no caps busting in here. No caps busting for FRFR.
That's awesome.
Kevin's got all that good slang and the good. So you take a blue Bic pen, and I would do it on a paper plate. I'm going to try this probably later. And I've heard that it just works on Vulgari. I don't know if it's on other species. I've only ever heard it worked on Vulgari. You draw a line on the pen, whatever line you want, or a line on the plate, whatever line. Put a Vulgari on there, and they'll run around and aimlessly kind of until they find that line, and then they'll follow it. So there's something in that ink that like is a chemical trail for them. So they'll follow it.
Is it similar to like the alcohol pens with the ants? How they won't cross over?
Yeah, I think it's like the opposite of that, because they'll walk along it like it's a track. Like if you had
Okay.
they have little toys for kids now that you can draw a line with a marker, and the little train will follow that line that you drew from a sensor. So I'm guessing it's like the opposite. So that the pen is like a deterrent to the ant. This is like they don't seem to be
They're
attracted
actually going
to it.
along with it.
Yeah. So once they cross it, they're like, oh, hey, I'm gonna go this way. So you can kind of like guide them or whatever. I wonder what else you could do with it. I'm gonna check that out. If you guys want to try that out too, and let me know. I'm going to do some short films on that when I have 30 seconds time to do anything else.
I'll give it a shot with a millipede.
Yeah, it might work with a millipede. Or you just have a bunch of different pen lines. Like, this is science.
Yeah, try some spray paint.
Some Bill Nye shit up in here.
Do a whole piece.
I want you to make a line of millipedes that just says no cap in cursive. They're just following.
I'll put one on each letter.
Now we've got that dumbass experiment out of the way. Actually, might be kind of cool. I think it'd be really cool. Do you have any closing advice? Because I know it's like 2 a.m. where you're at right now.
Actually, it's only, what is it, like just about 11? Yeah, a little after 11.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad then.
Closing advice. Whatever millipede species you're really into, if you have no experience or very little, stay away from pill millipedes. Stay away from the flat millipedes. Start off with something easier like your ivory millipedes, which are Chicobola spinageris, or with your bumblebees, your scarlets, your narcissus. Any of those guys will be really good starters. And just do your research. Sure, you stay away from choir. Check out the Millipede enthusiast database, like the link that's provided down below, and ask questions in the Facebook groups. Right now, those are actually some of the best supports that you can find. There's a lot of bad information that we've been trying to clear out of there. Myself, Sean Kramer, Tony Webb, Jeremiah Toole are all actively trying to wipe all the misinformation out of the Millipede groups and establishing something actually worth reading and going for. So hopefully you guys can help grow with us.
Yeah, and I mean, at least follow the guys like we've done. I mean, everybody's done in their hobby. Follow the guys that have been doing it forever and putting in the time and putting in the effort. Like, don't disregard them because they might. I feel like if I was that into it, some of the things I'm into, I come at people a little hard if they are they're pushing wrong information. Like they say,
I do that.
Yeah, like they'll say, like I'll be the idiot. Oh, Kevin, I'm gonna keep these millipedes. The pet store kept them on cocoa husk, and it's not core. They're not gonna just swallow it. So then they give them zucchini, and they're good to go. And then you give me you need flake soil, you need this, you need that. And then I would, like, as soon as I resist, I don't know about you, but I would be like, idiot, listen, like, why I've been doing this for how long? I've got how many species under my belt now?
Oh, yeah. The moment they come back, it's like, oh, I've had these for less than a month. They're thriving.
Yeah.
Shut up, stupid. They're going to die soon enough. Listen to someone trying to help you.
Let me know in 6 months how they're doing.
yeah, right.
Let me know in 6 months. And I feel like as someone who gives advice to people on a pretty regular basis, like people contact me all the time that watch the show and ask me then, like, oh, you talked about this with Kevin. You talked about millipedes. Like, what do I do in this situation? I'm like, oh, shit. And so I'm shady. I'll reach out to you, Kevin, and I'll be like, hey, what is this? And then I'll come back to them like, oh, hey, this is what I would do. I do it all the time. I do it all the time. I just
take it till you make it, right?
Yep, I just outed myself to my audience.
Eventually you'll learn something.
I will tell you, audience, if you have come to me for advice, probably 65% of the time, I'll be like, I'll reach out to the expert you're talking about and get the info, because now we're all friends, right? I'm friends with all these people. So they respond quickly, and then I'll get back to you. But it's not from them. I don't make it like it's from them. Like, oh, sorry, it took me a minute to get back from this. I was taking a dump or whatever.
I was really busy at work.
And the other 35% of the time I'll be like, you know what? I don't know, but this is what I've had experience with, or this is who I would reach out to. But yeah, probably 65% of the time is me either going back to look at some of the parts of the episode that you were in, or reaching out to you directly and then just transferring your information through my voice.
Hey,
yeah,
as long as the information's getting out there, I really don't care who's saying it.
exactly. And I don't say it's just me. I just go, oh, hey, this is what I would do. And it's true. It's what you said to do. So whatever. So like Wally, you guys have heard a lot of other people's information from me. So it's so much. I feel like that weight is lifted off my chest now. Ah, it's a relief.
I'm waiting to see your hoodie unfurl.
You're not gonna. No, it's hot down here now. I got a space heater here from my ants and my spider, and because it's freaking cold down here, and I'm cooking right now on this thing. No cap.
No cap, real bussin'. Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag bless. What is that slang from? Like, what group is that from?
Honestly, that's. I hate to sound old, but that's what the kids say.
Like, that's what the kids say.
Like for real, on cap. It's like for real, on God, no cap. Like that's like I'm telling you the truth. For real.
Like I get it. I get it from context clues, but like what group of kids? Is this like skater kids? Is this like mall rats? Like, is it just all kids? Is it TikTokers?
Kind of like all kids right now.
That's wild. I'm gonna start saying that stuff.
Basically, all kids. It's an urban thing. I don't know. I grew up in the Bronx, so I grew up with all different types of slang.
Okay.
This is just the next step in slang. Like, I grew up saying things like pause in the middle of a sentence when I said something that might be considered homosexual. Like, that's how we grew up. Like, so like, oh, that's a really nice sweatshirt. Instead of waiting for someone to be like, oh, you're gay, be like, pause.
You say pause?
That's what we did. Yeah. It'd be like, oh, it's a nice sweatshirt. Pause. Like, you verbally communicated the word pause. Like, that's how we grew up.
That's funny, and it shows how much things have changed. Like, I don't know. Like, anyway, that's for another whole other discussion. That's not for Millipede discussion. We'll do a raw show, and it'll be good. Slang has changed so much, and slang is so wild. I like to get into who's saying what slang, because then I get a cultural. I like to follow cultural trends. Yeah, and like face tattoos, right? We're going to come back to that. We'll circle back. Gauges. I want to be friends with you when you're 80 and see what your ears look like when you're 80. Because I don't know anybody with gauges that's old, like truly old. And I want to see that like limp hula hoop.
My buttholes?
Yeah, the gauges. Yeah, oh, yeah, see?
Yeah, that's what it looks like without them.
Yeah, right. But when you're 80, you know, your earlobes
keep
just growing.
Hanging there?
Yeah, they're just going to be like a windsock.
I think my oldest friend with tunnels is probably early 60s now, and he's got like 3-inch ones in his ears.
Okay.
These are just about an inch.
See, you're going to have to keep going because that's just going to get all floppy.
I actually had them out for a few years, just letting it close up real small. Then I got tired of looking at the little buttholes that I had on the sides of my face, so I put the jewelry back in.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And I know more people with gauges now, I think, than I know that don't have them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I will say the only slang that offends me right now fully is if you say lol out loud.
LOL.
No, if you say lol like it's a word, I'll slap the shit out of you if it's in person. Like, I'll full on slap you. Like, it's offensive to me. It hurts my soul. Yeah, it's
just
bad.
Gonna have to send you video messages all day now. Whenever you post something, instead of me fucking respond or commenting, I'm just gonna go whoa.
We'll have problems. I'm gonna drive to New York and be like, son of a bitch, say it again. Don't think I won't slap somebody with face tattoos, even though you're scary. That makes you scary, right?
Don't worry, yeah, I'm a real goon.
Yeah. That's stereotypes. Some stereotypes. So yeah, guys, do your homework, I think, is the main lesson, right? And I hope somebody learned something this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Don't jump in.
Hopefully.
Don't do all the impulse crap. Do your homework. Reach out. Ask the experts.
Ryder's question real quick.
Yeah.
I would honestly stay away from underground and get from a reputable breeder, especially because a lot of underground stuff is wild caught. All the exotic things they have are wild caught. Avoid them right now. Most of them have been in the U.S. far too long and sitting on choir, so their odds of surviving much longer are pretty slim. Best to avoid them right now.
That's good. That's good. What is underground? What is that?
Underground reptiles.
They're
They're actually
trash.
the big one that's pulling in all these exotics. They're the one that was mislabeling a lot of the millipedes, especially the Antheromorpha. They're
That's the
selling
big
those as
thing you were talking
Desmontes.
about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and since I got into millipede or into isopods, is when I started looking at them, and they are trash. Yeah, they are. I was looking at getting my emerald tree skinks that I wanted from them, and no, I did my homework. I almost pulled the trigger, but I didn't have the setup ready, and I was smart, but I was close. But I don't want. If I get wild caught, it's going to be from somebody I trust.
Yeah, get from somebody who actually cares about the animals, not just that quick flip on them.
Yeah, Josh at Exotic Empire, he was on, and I after talking to him for a couple months now, like he's an importer, but he keeps the animals until he's positive they're ready to go. Like they're parasite free, they're eating, they're drinking, they're healthy animals.
Cool.
Yeah, so to the point that he's been stuck with some Cuban crocodiles that are apparently terrifying. Like they get up on their legs and run at you.
Oh yeah, that's a definitely different situation, especially like if you have every now and then I'm really tired or kind of drunk, I'll go grab one of my tubs thinking it's a millipede. I'll open it, reach in, go like grab some bark, check on it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just my 6-inch centipede about to run up my hand and bite me. So it's like, just gotta keep on your toes with certain things.
No, centipedes are a no.
Nice wake up though, always having something random run up you, whether it's a leg or an arm, anything else.
I have a policy with insects is if they're fine, I don't mind them at all. I let them do their thing, I'll do my thing. Unless they get on me uninvited. Like it has to be consensual. If a bug is on me uninvited, 99% it's dead. Like 99% it's dead, especially if I didn't see it coming. If I didn't see it coming, it's just on me 100%, you're dead.
Smack.
Yep, smack, crush. Like I have sensory things, so it just drives me up the wall. Yeah, no, but I otherwise I'll take a bug. I'll let a wasp land on me. I don't care. And I hate a wasp because I got stung real bad. One got in my
nasty
shirt.
Ones.
He got in my shirt and just kept going. So I had like 13 stings on me by the time I got him out. It was rough. That hurt. But it's that one bug, that one accident that happened. He's trying to defend himself. He still died.
He's doing what he's supposed to do.
He still died, but he's trying to
fought admirably.
Yeah, so I sting harder. Yeah, I think we're good, guys. Do you guys have any closing questions? What do we got here? Bamaram? I missed something. Oh, Black Betty.
Funny, I named my cat Betty just so, because I was like, oh, what's a good name to yell when she acts up? I'm driving, I was like, Betty, whoa, Black Betty, bam. So I named my cat Betty because of that song that they're joking around with.
Is she a black cat?
Actually kind of funny.
Is she a black cat too?
Oh yeah, got her on Halloween.
You don't mess around. You're into voodoo.
Went that full distance for that one. I didn't even realize it was Halloween. I had a mouse problem in Colorado, so we went to the cat rescue, and I ended up with a cat on Halloween.
Beetle guy, you win. Dumbest question tonight. I know you're messing with me.
If you undo your pants and look down, it's similar to that. But there's a bunch of little legs on the side.
Oh my god. Yeah, we're drunk right now. What do we got here? Oh, they just jumped like a million. Thanks, guys. Definitely will rewatch. Thanks, Luch. Miserable Pile of Secrets.
Oh, Luch, what's going on, man?
Luch is awesome. He's going to be on in a couple weeks, next week. I got to keep better track of who's coming on the show because I never know until like tomorrow. I'll tell you all. Where can I get uncommon listings?
Uncommon? Honestly, most of the uncommon species are pretty much traded among some of the more experienced breeders. Kind of just got to linger around the groups and befriend people and see what you can get, really. Otherwise, for websites, the only one I really recommend would be U.S. Invertebrate LLC. Sean, he's the one that got me started into millipedes. They get a lot of rare ones. You don't see something on the website, send them a message on Facebook. They can usually get it for you. Or Green Acres Invertebrates too. She's really good. She's a good friend of mine. She has a pretty big selection of exotics to choose from, and she's really helpful. She supplies care sheets with all the animals that she sells to, so she's really good to deal with.
I can attest that, guys. I've been stalking.
Green Acres Exotics. I'm sorry.
I've been stalking people
Green Acres
lately,
Exotics.
so yeah, Green Acres Exotics. My new thing because people ask me who I recommend for stuff all the time, so I stalk pages now and watch how people interact and just observe. And yeah, she's awesome. So just from that alone, just watching her observations with other people is really solid, really genuine.
Yeah, Green Acres has a Facebook only. But Ryder, if you live over by US Inverts, tell them Kev sent you.
Nice. Get that inside information. Yeah, guys, I think that's it. I'm going to pop you out, Kevin, if you want to hang out and talk for a minute afterwards.
Sure thing.
A couple more jokes maybe. And then
absolutely.
I'm going to do my outro. All right?
Cool.
All right, man. Cool. Thanks for coming so much.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
I learned so much this episode, so thank you.
Cool. Well.
All right, guys. That was Kevin Nasser. Smart guy. Knows his stuff. I don't know how I never asked him any of these questions about millipedes before. I would genuinely call him a friend. So I hope you guys learned something. If you did, like and subscribe. Maybe share it. Share it in some groups like Green Acres Exotics. I don't know. Somewhere. Throw it around. Let's see what happens. Again, the page is growing. So if you're a part of that, thank you. I don't really know. I can't put my finger on why. But I'm just excited to have it. So I think it's just organically happening, hopefully. And because I love my audience, I love you guys because everybody has something to say. Everybody participates. I think it's amazing. So if you haven't already, I don't know, it's been like an hour and 45 minutes. Like and subscribe. Click the bell icon so you see when we're coming on, even though apparently that doesn't work anymore that well. We're here every Tuesday, 8:30. I'll try to let you know on Facebook, IsoBuddies group in Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Not that I ever check it, but I'm on Instagram as Original IsoBuddies because somebody took IsoBuddies and posted a bunch of pictures of powder isopods because those are so cool. There's nothing wrong with them, I guess. Where else am I? Patreon IsoBuddies. IsoBuddies/Patreon or Patreon/IsoBuddies. I'll put the link somewhere. Again, any support. I have some great supporters. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Your generosity and interest in the show and investment in the show just really, it means so much. I can't explain it. But yeah, if you want to be part of the show, we're trying to plan some trips to go visit some other creators and on location. Hopefully we'll get to visit Clint's Reptiles. Really trying, but every little bit helps. Or helps get new lights or better whatever around so it looks better, right? That's it, guys. I think that's all I got. So we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Check that link in the description for your millipede information from the geniuses of millipedes. All right, that's my words, not theirs. So I love you guys. Stay true.